What's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be covering my brand new spellshot graveborn build, which is probably my favorite setup in this game right now. Even though I started out as a spore warden, I've really been enjoying these companion setups because they just do such huge amounts of damage. Now, this build is great because it's kind of a do-it-all setup. You can change your gear and a couple of the skill points based around what you want to do exactly. However, the skill tree options that I went for was to get Blast Gasp and take advantage of some spell damage Feriores, which is basically really awesome. Now, I will say real quick that in all of the footage in this video, I am not taking advantage of any of the bugged interactions. For those of you who don't know, but Faithful Thralls and Harvest, if these are active while you are traveling through portals, you can stack them basically infinitely and do insane damage, but I am not taking advantage of these bugs in this build. So the damage you saw in the intro clips are just legitimate damage. You know, it won't get nerfed for being a bug or anything like that. Anyways, though, what's awesome about Blast Gasp is it's very similar to Short Fuse on Moze, and it's very similar to the Barrage Anointment for the Spore Warden, but Blast Gasp works with spells. So that sounds very familiar because I've covered tons of Spore Warden with the Barrage Anointment and the double dipping. And of course, Blast Gasp is double dipping certain bonuses, and I will be explaining the damage math in this video. Also, I've just been farming a lot for this build, especially with some of the videos I posted the last couple days about the spell damage Feriores, you know, which spells were best for the Graveborn and stuff like that. So it was only natural that I ended up making this build. And I have a lot to show off and a lot to tell you guys. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alrighty, by the way, it is my birthday today, so if you want to give me a good birthday present, please like the video for the algorithm. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more Wonderlands videos. So let's go ahead and talk about this build. This is a Blast Gasp build, and what Blast Gasp does is whenever the Fate Maker deals spell damage, there is a chance he will create an elemental explosion, dealing ability damage of the spell's elemental type. Those elemental explosions can't crit, and then this basically has a 20% chance to proc, and you can see my class mod is adding a lot of points into this, so it's going to be 90% of the spell damage dealt, which is pretty freaking intense. So let's go ahead and talk about what guns and some of the gear we're using to take advantage of Blast Gasp, as well as our other skills and, you know, the different synergies. So basically we are using Feriore companions. Now, if you want to watch the full video I posted the other day about exactly which Feriore companions get spell damage, you don't have to, because I'll just tell you right now, when it comes to non-legendary Feriores, you're going to be looking for the Fear Not pistol. If it's not a Fear Not pistol, it's not getting spell damage. When it comes to shotguns, you are looking for the regular bullet shotguns. There are shotguns that shoot regular bullets, and then there are shotguns that shoot those magical beams. The regular bullet shotguns get spell damage, and the magical beams get gun damage. It's backwards, I know, but that's what it is. And actually, I prefer it this way because I like the regular bullet shotguns better. And yeah, these are pretty much the only two weapons we were using, except of course I have more in other elements and stuff like that. Also, I finally got one of these fragment rains with a Hydra, and these legendary Feriores, most of them actually do spell damage from what I could tell. So some of the legendary Feriores will be good for this build, although we are only using pixies, and that's for a very good reason, because there is a cap on Hydras, and I'll talk about that in a second. So now that you know which guns we're using and that these get spell damage, let's go ahead and cover the skill trees real quick. So I am using the spellshot skill tree because this is going to give us loads and loads of spell damage. Every single spell weave stack, we're going to get spell damage. And with high thread count, we can get up to 8 stacks of spell weaving, which, you know, just 10% per stack. That's like 80% spell damage, which is insane. Now, I went ahead and I did stick 3 out of 3 into magic bullets because I do believe these Dark Hydras do, benefit from gun damage bonuses. And these Dark Hydras are very strong, although I'll have to do some official testing with these. But I also just wanted to take magic bullets anyway because it makes this build a little bit more versatile. There are some things in the game like the yellow raid boss orbs that are, the companions don't always target too well, so sometimes you do want to pull out a gun. And I just wanted to make the build a little more versatile as well. Then we went ahead and got 3 out of 5 prestidigitation. You notice that there's 6 points spent down here. I did want as much reload speed as possible. However, I did prioritize fire rate and font of mana over the skill a little bit. Now, for those of you that don't know, but pixies do get your bonus fire rate. So this is an insane DPS boost for pixies. And yeah, then we went ahead and got font of mana so we could get as much spell cooldown as possible. You notice I even have probably 2 points into Essence Drain. Let me take off my class mod while we go over this. Yeah, 2 points into Essence Drain. Then I got Glass Cannon. I did not use Mage Armor, and that's because I'm using the Cursed Wit. Depending on what shield you're using, you can use Mage Armor if you want. And then we just wanted to get to high thread count so we can get those bonus spell weaving stacks. And we didn't really use too much of the spellshot tree. What we really went deep on was the graveborn tree. We have Faithful Thralls. Now, some of you may be asking, hey, Thick, pixies don't give you more Faithful Thrall stacks. Well, I got you covered. We got Ambihextrous and we got 2 Frostburns. And this is really important why we are specifically using pixies. And that's because Hydras actually have a limit. I think you can only have 6 Hydras out at once. And with 2 Frostburns, we get 6 Hydras instantly. Look at my Faithful Thrall stacks times 8 instantly. And look at our spell cooldowns. Right as our Hydras wear off, we get our spell cooldown right back, and that's because we have tons of spell cooldown with the skill points, as well as I put points into intelligence in the hero stats. And yeah, so we don't really need to throw Hydras. We really just want to use the pixies because they aim better, they shoot faster, they get fire rate bonuses. They're just better in this build all around, and you really want to be using those pixies. Anyways, 2 points in Essence Drain for more spell cooldown and to just get down the tree. 3 points into Harvest, 4 into Dark Pact, and that's because I wanted to put 1 point into Stain of the Soul. Now, I do recommend sticking at least 1 point into Stain of the Soul because this is going to give you a little bit extra bonus dark magic damage, which is going to help with your survivability and healing and stuff like that. 3 out of 3 Dark Hydra. These Hydras are absolutely powerful as shit, as well as just, you know, adding to our synergy and our Faithful Thrall stacks. But later, when I show you guys what class mod we're using, how crazy these Dark Hydras can become. Then I stuck 1 point into Punishment, and that's because our spell cooldown is up so often. You are spamming your spells in this build, so I just figured we are getting ability damage in this build with the class mod as well. So I just figured this is probably a good skill to go for, although you probably don't need it. You can probably stick it up here if you really want to. Then we went with 3 out of 3 Ascension, and I know we're already getting like 80% spell damage with our spellshot tree, but this skill's insane. This gives 60% spell damage, as well as a little bit more maximum health, which can be nice in certain situations. And yeah, this is just a great skill. Then obviously 5 out of 5 Blast Gasp, and I did stick 1 into Lord of Edges, and then we got our Capstone. Now let's talk a little bit about Blast Gasp and some of the damage formula, and then I will go over the rest of the gear because obviously if you guys understand some of the damage formula stuff, then you'll know why I chose the gear that I chose. So here up at the top, this is our Feriore gun. This is a very basic damage formula. I didn't write out everything, but depending on what Feriore you have, it's going to be spell damage or gun damage. It's never both. I have tested many Feriores in the game and I have not found one that's both. So it's going to be spell or gun. Pixies and Hydras will get companion damage. Pixies actually get area damage. So area damage is a good bonus to look out for. And then we have all the rest of our global bonuses. And global bonuses is stuff like Faithful Thralls. It's going to be stuff like all damage dealt. Oh, you can't see the all damage anymore. It's going to be stuff like all damage on our amulet here. And yeah, so that's a basic damage formula. Next, Blast Gasp is double dipping. And from what I could tell, it wasn't double dipping area bonuses. So even though the Pixies do get area bonuses, you will want to focus more on all damage It'll double dip your global bonuses. It's double dipping Faithful Thralls, which is insane. And then it'll double dip your elemental bonuses. So you want to focus on elemental bonus enchantments. And I'll show you guys all my enchantments and stuff later. And basically just things to look out for in this build are going to be companion damage on our rings. And that's because our build already has so much spell damage, even a lot of gun damage, because we have that first skill in the spellshot tree. So both of my rings, I was looking for companion damage because it's one multiplier that we're not getting. After that, you're gonna wanna look for all damage, and this is gonna be your biggest double dipper. You definitely want it on your amulet. I don't have it on my armor, which I'll show you my armor. It doesn't have the best skills on the bottom. And then I don't think you can get all damage on rings, so I guess avoid that. Also, one thing I forgot to write on here was spell crit. Oh, here, I did write that actually. Then you're gonna wanna look for elemental bonuses, which you can get on your amulet or your enchantments. Area damage is a good stat to look out for. And one thing to note is Feriores actually do not get companion crit. Since they count as spells, they actually, or gun, they will get spell or gun crit. So knowing that, take a look at this ring I'm using. You notice that it's a companion damage ring with spell critical hit damage. Now, I was farming a lot and I was really lucky to find this chaotic one, which is companion damage with spell critical hit damage. And if these can roll area or all damage, which I don't think rings can, but I could be wrong, those will be better bonuses to look out for. But spell crit is also very awesome because these will crit, pretty decently. Now, when it comes to the ward, I'm using the Cursed Wit. I did try out this Mind Rune, which summons frost runes under enemies whenever you cast spells, and I think the Cursed Wit is just better. Plus, this is always going to be active because we have that skill. We have Glass Cannon. So this will literally just always be activated, which is pretty crazy. And then for some of the other stuff for the frost burns, I'll talk about the enchantments as well in 1 second. For the amulet, I don't think there's a specific legendary amulet that you want, but these two amulets I have here, you can basically get whatever element of the gun you're throwing, and you can switch these out between boss fights and stuff. But really what you're looking for is that all damage. Graveborn power, I think, is a little bit better for this build because it gives bonuses to Blast Gasp. But spellshot power is fine. And then dark magic damage, since all of my stuff does dark magic damage, I kind of like using this on the amulet as kind of a general bonus. But it really doesn't matter. If I was fighting the yellow raid boss, for example, and I switched to one of my poison Feriores, I would put this amulet on instead because it's just going to be better. When it comes to enchantments, that's something important to talk about. When it comes to the melee weapon and the ward, you're gonna want on spellcast increase dark magic damage by 30% for 5 seconds, and then on spellcast increase elemental damage by 20% for 5 seconds. Now, you cannot get these enchantments on your spells. I don't know why, but you just can't get on spellcast bonus element on your spells. You can only get them on the melee weapon and the ward. So you really will want to look for these two specifically. Now you can get element on your over here and you can get dark magic over here. That's fine. Anyways though, when it comes to our spells, I'm using on spellcast increased damage on my first Frostburn, and on my second Frostburn, I kind of ran out of enchantments to choose from, so I went ahead and got ability damage because that will boost our Dark Hydras, and that will boost Blast Gasp. Now, there was one other interesting enchantment I was thinking about using that I didn't really test with too much, and it is when you get a spell kill, you get a 50% chance to shoot a bonus projectile. Pixies do definitely take advantage from bonus projectiles. Now, when it comes to the shotguns, it's not super impactful. But when it comes to these Fear Knots, it is pretty impactful. So I think that's a fine enchantment to test with, but I'm just not using it. And then on the guns themselves, I'm using the specific element of the gun. So you notice I have dark magic on my melee weapon, and that's because I don't think there's many dark magic Feriores except some of the legendary ones. And dark magic is like our secondary element that we're kind of getting all the time anyway, between Harvest, with our 1 point in Stain of the Soul even, our dark magic hydras. It's kind of our secondary element in our build, so that's why I wanted it on my melee weapon, and then I wanted my specific elements, like you see my frost fear not has the frost enchantment, my fire bloodshot has the fire enchantment, my shock bloodshot has the lightning enchantment, and then I have to re-roll this one. I'll have to back up my save though, because this one has been re-rolled a bunch. And yeah, next let's go ahead and talk about the armor and how kind of insane it was. Now, I actually found this armor on accident. I was looking, where is it? This one. Now, I was looking for paradigms, but I did not know that the graveborn clawbringer paradigm rolls with blast gasp on it. Now, the ability of this is melee damage and ability damage are increased by 50% of your increased spell damage. Obviously, we have boatloads of spell damage in this build, and now our melee and ability damage are gonna be boosted based off of that. And what's crazy about that is that's just gonna all feed into Blast Gasp and our Dark Hydras. So our Dark, like, it's just kind of insane. And it kind of makes this a do-it-all build, because all of a sudden, you know, if you want, you could pull out Dire Sacrifice maybe and get some extra damage with it, although I will say I didn't try it. You know, and stuff like that. It's just a really crazy class mod, and the fact that I got 4 Blast Gasp on the top of it just made me really happy to find this class mod. And yeah, so this build is very insane. As you guys saw from some of the clips, now I'm gonna put on a clip of Elite Pigwort with the Elite Trolls in the featured run during the recording of this video, because for those of you who played during this featured run, you know that this was a very hard room to beat, especially on Elite, but I got a very impressive Pigwort kill here. And yeah, this build is very, very fun. There's lots of crazy math and interactions going on. And with the damage formula in mind, you definitely want to go back and watch the specific bonuses on some of my rings, on my amulet. The only piece of gear in my build that I probably will farm more of is the armor. And that's because my armor bonuses were pretty bad. It just had like spell crit chance, which isn't terrible. But, you know, we're really looking for all damage. We're really looking for area damage and stuff like that. But like with the rings, for example, where we got companion damage and then spell crit damage, those are very optimal for like really diversifying your damage types. And I always talk about diversifying your damage types to get the most damage possible. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this build video. You know, obviously comment down below with any questions or comments you might have. You guys know I respond to all the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for more Wonderlands content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.